1 year after the invasion, humanity came for revenge. The Kethran homeworld was called Kethra Prime. It was a beautiful planet, twice the size of Earth, with purple oceans and golden forests. For 10,000 years, the Kethran Empire had ruled from this world. They had conquered 100 species. They had built monuments to their glory that touched the clouds. Now, human ships darkened their sky. The fleet had grown in the past year. Using captured Kethran technology and the anger that burned in every human heart, Earth had built 500 warships. They were crewed by volunteers from every nation. They had traveled across the galaxy, following the path the Kethran had taken to Earth. General Una stood on the bridge of the flagship. It was named Revenge. She thought the name was appropriate. "Status report," she said. "All ships in position," Juan replied. He had become her second in command. The tired young officer from the bunker had grown into a capable leader. Weapons charged. Shields at maximum. "We are ready." Una looked at the planet below. Millions of Kethran lived on that world. Soldiers, civilians, children. She knew what she was about to do. She knew the weight of it. "Open communications," she ordered. "All channels. I want them to hear this." The screen in front of her flickered. A Kethran face appeared. It was Emperor Drex, the same young leader who had laughed at Varak's warning. But he was not laughing now. His scales had turned gray with stress. His eyes were wide with fear. "Humans," Drex said, "we can negotiate. We can give you technology, resources, whatever you want. Please, we surrender. We surrender." Una stared at him without expression. "1 year ago," she said, "your ships came to our world. You burned our cities. You killed our children. You laughed as our people screamed." Drex's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. "We asked you for mercy," Una continued. "We begged you to stop. Do you remember what your soldiers said? They said humans were weak. They said we deserved to die. They said our extinction would be quick." She leaned forward. "We are not weak. We did not die. And now we are here to return what you gave us." Drex fell to his knees on the screen. "Please, the war is over. You won. Why do this?" "Because you need to learn," Una said. "Every species in this galaxy needs to learn. Humanity is not prey. We are not slaves. We are not a species to be conquered. We are a species that conquers." She turned to Juan. "Begin the attack." Juan hesitated for just a moment. "General, there are civilians down there. Millions of innocents who had nothing to do with the invasion." Una closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was pain in her gaze. "I know," she said quietly, "and I will carry that weight for the rest of my life. But if we show mercy now, other empires will think we are still weak. They will try what the Kethran tried. More invasions. More dead humans. More children burning." She placed her hand on one shoulder. "We cannot afford mercy. Not yet. Not until the galaxy understands that attacking Earth means extinction. True peace can only come when they fear us too much to try again." Juan nodded slowly. His face was hard, but his eyes were wet. "All ships," he announced, "begin bombardment." The sky above Kethra Prime turned to fire. Human weapons fell like rain. Cities that had stood for millennia collapsed in seconds. The golden forests burned to black ash. The purple oceans boiled and turned to steam. The Kethran tried to fight back. Their remaining ships rose to meet the human fleet. But they were too few, too weak, too broken. The defenders fell one by one. Hana led the fighter squadrons. She flew through the burning atmosphere, shooting down any Kethran ship that tried to escape. Her face was empty. She had stopped feeling anything months ago. All that remained was the mission. Her radio crackled. "Commander Hana, enemy ship escaping Sector 7. I see it, she replied. She pushed her fighter to maximum speed and pursued. The Catherine ship was fast, but she was faster. She had become the best pilot in the human fleet. Some called her the Angel of Death. She fired. The Catherine ship exploded. Target destroyed, she reported. Returning to formation. She did not celebrate. She never did anymore. On the surface, June led the ground forces. Their mission was to capture the Catherine capital and secure any surviving technology. What they found was worse than any battlefield. The city was chaos. Buildings burned. Catherine civilians ran through the streets, screaming. Some tried to surrender. Others tried to fight with whatever they could find. June's soldiers pushed through without stopping. They had orders. Secure the palace. Capture the emperor. End the war. They walked beside June. The young soldier had become a warrior. His face was covered in scars from 100 battles. He no longer flinched at death. Commander, they said, pointing ahead. The palace. The Catherine Palace was enormous, a building of crystal and gold. It stood in the center of the city, surrounded by walls and guards. But the walls were crumbling. The guards were running. Take it, June ordered. His soldiers moved forward. They fought through the remaining defenders without difficulty. The Catherine were broken, their spirit destroyed. They fell like leaves before wind inside the palace. June found Emperor Drex hiding under his throne. The once proud leader was shaking, his scales pale with terror. Please, Drex whispered. Don't kill me. I'll do anything. June looked at the alien emperor. He thought about all the humans who had begged the same way. All the people who had been killed without mercy. He raised his weapon. Then he lowered it. No, June said. Death is too easy for you. He grabbed Drex and pulled him up. You will live. You will watch your empire burn. You will see your people become refugees. You will spend the rest of your life knowing that you caused this. That your pride and your cruelty destroyed everything your ancestors built. He threw Drex to the floor. That is your punishment. That is human justice. Drex lay on the ground and wept. The bombardment continued for 3 days. When it was over, Kethra Prime was a dead world. The cities were ruins. The forests were ash. The oceans were poison. Nothing remained of the great Catherine Empire but memories and dust. Human ships spread across Catherine space, destroying military bases and freeing slave species. Worlds that had been conquered for centuries saw their masters fall. Former slaves looked up at human ships and saw something new in the galaxy. Hope and fear. The message was clear. Humanity was not to be attacked. Ever again. Elder Vorak watched the final broadcast from a small room on a refugee station. He was very old now, his 4 eyes dim with age. But he could still see the images on the screen. The Catherine homeworld. Burning. Emperor Drex on his knees. General Yuna. Standing victorious. Vorak remembered standing in the Galactic Council, trying to warn them. He remembered Drex laughing at his stories. He remembered the pride in the young emperor's eyes. Now that pride was ash. I told you, Vorak whispered to the screen. I told you what would happen. A young Warath refugee sat down beside him. She was only a child, born after the destruction of their homeworld. Elder, she asked, what are humans? Why is everyone so afraid of them? Vorak was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. Humans are strange creatures, he said. They are small and weak. They live short lives on a tiny planet. By all logic, they should be nothing in this galaxy. He turned to look at the child. But they have something no other species has. They have fire in their hearts. When you threaten what they love, that fire grows. It burns hotter than any star. And it does not stop until everything in its path is destroyed. The child looked confused. But that sounds terrible. It is, Vorak agreed. But it is also beautiful. Humans love with all their hearts. They protect their families with all their strength. They will walk through hell itself to save someone they care about. He looked back at the screen. The Catherine saw weakness where there was only kindness. They saw fear where there was only patience. They did not understand that humans were not hiding from danger. They were giving their enemies a chance to walk away. He sighed. The Catherine did not walk away. And now they are gone. The child was silent for a moment. Then she asked, Elder, what should we do? Should we be afraid of humans? Vorak smiled, the first real smile he had allowed himself in years. No, child. We should be their friends. Because there is no better friend in the galaxy than a human. They will fight for you. They will die for you. They will burn empires to keep you safe. He placed his old hand on her small shoulder. But never, ever become their enemy. Because they will not stop. They will never forgive. And they will reduce your world to ashes. On Earth, reconstruction had begun. The cities were being rebuilt. The people were returning to their homes. Children played in parks again. June stood on a hill overlooking Bazan. The city was different now, a mix of human and alien architecture. Ships from friendly species came and went from the harbor. The world had changed forever. Minji stood beside him. Bora ran ahead of them, chasing butterflies in a field of flowers. Do you think it's over? Minji asked. June watched his daughter play. She was laughing, her voice bright and clear. No, he said. It's not over. There are other empires out there. Other species who might think they can take what we have. He turned to look at his wife. But now they know. Now everyone knows. Humanity will never be conquered. We will never surrender. And anyone who tries to hurt us will pay the price. Minji took his hand. That sounds exhausting. Fighting forever. June smiled. Maybe, but we're human. Fighting is what we do. The attack began at dawn. Across the world, in every time zone. Resistance fighters activated TASE transmitters at exactly the same moment. The devices sent out their signal, a silent wave of energy that traveled through the air. The effect was immediate. In Seoul, a Catherine patrol was marching through the ruins when their shields suddenly flickered and died. The blue glow around their armor disappeared. For the first time since landing on Earth, they were exposed. They did not stay exposed for long. Gunfire erupted from every building, every window, every pile of rubble. Human soldiers who had been hiding for weeks poured out of their positions. Bullets that would have bounced off Catherine's shields now tore through their armor. The patrol fell in seconds. Not one alien survived, and this scene repeated itself across the entire planet. General Yuna watched the reports come in from her command center. Red dots on the map were turning green one by one. Each green dot was a Catherine position that had been destroyed. Beijing sector is clear, Juan announced. Moscow sector is clear, another officer added. Sydney, London, New York, all reporting success. Yuna allowed herself a small smile. The plan was working. But she knew the hardest part was still ahead. What about the main bases? She asked. One's face grew serious. The smaller patrols are destroyed, but the major bases still have millions of soldiers. They are regrouping. They know something is wrong. Then we need to hit them before they recover, Yuna said. Send the order. Phase 2 begins now. Hana was already in the air when the order came. Her squadron had been waiting behind a mountain range, engines running, weapons loaded. They had been preparing for this moment for weeks. All pilots, Hana said through her radio, this is it. The shields are down. Our target is the Catherine command base in Bizan. It holds 50,000 enemy soldiers and their fleet command center. If we destroy it, we cripple their operations in all of Asia. She took a deep breath. Many of us will not come back. I will not lie to you about that. But if we succeed, millions of people will live. Millions of children will have a future. That is worth dying for. A radio crackled with responses. Understood. Ready. Let's kill these monsters. Hannah pushed her jet forward. Behind her, 50 planes followed. The Bizen base was enormous. It covered the entire harbor area, a complex of alien buildings and landing pads. Catherine's ships were everywhere, some on the ground, some hovering in the air. Anti-aircraft weapons pointed in every direction, but their shields were gone. Hannah's squadron came in low over the water, using the waves to hide from enemy radar. They flew faster than they had ever flown before. The wind screamed past their cockpits. Lock targets, Hannah ordered. Fire on my signal, she counted in her head. 1, 2, 3. Fire. 50 missiles launched at once. They streaked toward the base like angry stars. The Catherine tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. The explosions were beautiful. Buildings collapsed. Ships fell from the sky. Fire spread through the complex like a living thing. But the Catherine were not finished. Their fighters launched to meet the human squadron. The sky became a chaos of metal and flame. Hannah twisted her jet through the battle, dodging enemy fire and shooting whenever she had a clear target. She saw her pilots falling, one by one. She saw friends die in balls of fire. She kept fighting. A Catherine fighter got behind her. Its weapons locked on. She could hear the warning alarm screaming dot at the last second. Another jet swooped in from the side. It was Tom, the American pilot. He rammed his plane into the enemy fighter, destroying both in a massive explosion. Hannah did not have time to mourn. She turned and continued the attack. On the ground, June led his fighters into the chaos. They had been waiting in tunnels beneath the base, digging for weeks to get into position. Now they burst from the ground like ghosts from graves. Take the command center, June shouted. Everything depends on this. His soldiers fought with weapons and fists and teeth. They had no training compared to the Catherine, but they had something more powerful. They had rage. June saw Day fighting 3 aliens at once. The young soldier was wounded, blood pouring from his arm, but he refused to stop. He killed one Catherine with his rifle, another with his knife, and the third with his bare hands. Keep moving, June yelled. The center is ahead. They pushed through halls filled with alien soldiers. Bodies piled on the floor, human and Catherine mixed together. The walls were painted with blood. Finally, they reached the command center. It was a large room filled with screens and alien technology. In the middle stood the Catherine commander, a massive alien in golden armor. The commander turned to face June. It spoke in broken human language. You cannot win, it said. Even if you destroy this base, our empire has 1,000 more ships. 1,000,000 more soldiers. You are insects fighting a giant. June raised his rifle. Maybe, but even insects can bite. He fired. The shot hit the commander's head. The alien fell. Around him, his soldiers cheered. But June did not celebrate. He walked to the alien screens and looked at them. He could not read the symbols, but he understood the pictures. More ships were coming from space. Reinforcements from the Catherine homeworld. General Yuna, June said into his radio. The base is ours. But we have a problem. Enemy reinforcements are approaching Earth. They will arrive in 6 hours. Yuna's voice came back, calm and steady. I know. That's why we're going to meet them. In the weeks before the attack, humanity had not only built weapons. They had also built ships. Using captured Catherine technology and human engineering, scientists from around the world had created a small fleet. 20 ships, each carrying the most powerful weapons Earth could build. They were ugly, made from pieces of alien metal and human steel. But they could fly, and they were about to launch. Minho stood in the control room of the lead ship. His broken leg had healed, though it still hurt when he walked. He had asked to join this mission, even though everyone told him he was too valuable to risk. "You figured out how to beat them," General Yuna had said. "You should be in a bunker, safe." "I figured out how to fight them," Minho had replied. "Now I want to finish the job." Yuna had agreed. She understood that some battles needed to be fought in person. Now, Minho watched Earth shrink below them as the fleet rose into space. It was beautiful, that small blue dot. He wondered if he would ever see it again. "Fleet report," the captain said. "All ships in formation. Weapons ready. Shields at maximum." "Good," Minho said. He had redesigned the shields using Tay's research. They worked differently now. They could not only block attacks, but also redirect them. The Catherine reinforcements appeared on the screens. 300 ships emerging from faster-than-light travel. They were massive, each one carrying thousands of soldiers, 300 against 20. The odds were impossible. Minho smiled. Impossible was a human specialty. "All ships," he announced, "prepared to engage. Remember your training. Remember your families. Remember why we fight." The fleet accelerated toward the enemy. The battle was unlike anything in human history. Ships exploded like fireworks against the black canvas of space. Weapons that could destroy cities fired in every direction. The darkness was lit by 1,000 colors of death. Minho's strategy was simple but effective. The human ships would not try to match the Catherine in firepower. Instead, they would use their smaller size and faster reactions to avoid damage. While slowly wearing down the enemy dot, it worked better than he hoped. The Catherine were used to fighting enemies who stood and traded shots. They were not prepared for humans who danced around them like mosquitoes. Still, the losses were terrible. 5 human ships fell in the first hour. Then 5 more. Each ship that exploded took hundreds of human lives with it, but the Catherine lost more. Minho's redirect shields sent their own weapons back at them. Ships that fired too quickly destroyed themselves. The space between Earth and the enemy fleet became a graveyard of burning metal. After 4 hours, only 8 human ships remained. But the Catherine fleet had been cut in half. After 5 hours, both fleets were nearly destroyed. And then something strange happened. The remaining Catherine ships stopped fighting. They turned and fled, jumping back into faster-than-light travel. They ran away. Minho stood in the damaged control room of his ship and watched them go. Around him, the few surviving crew members sat in silence. They were too tired to cheer, too broken to celebrate. But they had one dot down on Earth. The news spread fast. The alien reinforcements had been defeated. The invasion was failing dot in bunkers and caves, in forests and mountains. Humanity began to understand. They were not just surviving anymore. They were winning. 3 weeks had passed since the invasion began. The world had changed completely. Cities that once held millions of people were now empty ruins. Roads that once carried cars were now covered in ash and broken glass. The sky was always gray, filled with smoke from the fires that never stopped burning. But humanity refused to die in a mountain bunker somewhere in the Korean peninsula. General Yuna stood at the center of the largest military operation in human history. Screens covered every wall, showing information from around the world. Officers from every nation sat at their stations, speaking in dozens of languages. The translators worked day and night. But slowly, a new language was forming. It was a mix of English, Korean, Chinese, Russian, and Spanish. The soldiers called it human. It was ugly and broken, but everyone understood it. Yuna walked to the main screen. It showed a map of Kethran positions across the globe. Red dots covered every continent. There were thousands of them. "Report," she said. A young officer named Juan stood up. He was thin and tired, with dark circles under his eyes. He had not slept in 3 days. "The enemy has established 57 major bases on Earth," Juan said. "They control all coastal areas and most flat land. Their total troop count is estimated at 2 million soldiers. And our forces? We have approximately 800,000 active fighters. But only half have proper weapons. The others are using whatever they can find." Yuna nodded slowly. The numbers were bad, but she had seen worse. "What about Tay?" she asked. "Any progress?" One smiled for the first time in weeks. "Yes, General. Tay has found something." Tay was not a soldier. He was a scientist, a professor of physics at Seoul National University. Before the invasion, he spent his days teaching students and writing papers about things most people could not understand. Now, he was humanity's greatest hope. He worked in a small laboratory at the back of the bunker. The room was filled with pieces of Kethran technology. Broken weapons, damaged armor, parts of alien machines. Tay had been studying them without rest since the first day of the war. When Yuna entered the lab, she found Tay standing in front of a strange device. It was a Kethran shield generator taken from a crashed ship. Tay had opened it up and was looking at the parts inside. "General," Tay said without turning around. "I found their weakness." Yuna stepped closer. "Tell me." Tay finally turned to face her. His glasses were cracked. His hair was messy, but his eyes were bright with excitement. "They're shields," he said. "They are very strong. Our weapons cannot break them. Missiles, bombs, bullets, nothing works." "I know this," Yuna said. "Tell me something new." Tay held up a small piece of crystal. It glowed with a faint blue light. "This is what powers their shields," he explained. "It creates an energy field that stops all physical objects. But here is the interesting part. The field has a frequency, like a radio signal. If we can match that frequency with our own signal, we can cancel it out." Yuna's eyes widened. "We can turn off their shields?" "Not just turn off," Tay said. "We can make them work against themselves. If we hit the shields with the right frequency, the energy will bounce back. It will destroy their own systems." He walked to a computer and showed her a screen full of numbers. "I have calculated the frequency. We can build transmitters that send out this signal. Any Kethran within range will lose their shields, their armor, their ships, their bases. Everything will become vulnerable." Yuna stared at the numbers. She did not understand the science, but she understood what it meant. "How long to build these transmitters?" 2 weeks, Tay said. "If we have enough materials." "You will have everything you need," Yuna said. "I promise." She turned and walked out of the lab. For the first time since the invasion, she felt hoped out while Tay worked on his transmitters. The rest of humanity prepared for war. In the mountains of Switzerland, weapons factories ran day and night. Workers who had never held a gun before now made bullets and missiles. They worked 16-hour shifts without complaining. They knew what was at stake. In the forests of Brazil, soldiers trained in guerrilla warfare. They learned to move silently through the trees. They learned to set traps. They learned to kill without being seen. Their instructor was a woman named Silva, a former Special Forces operator who had already killed 30 Kethran soldiers with nothing but a knife. In the deserts of Africa, engineers built vehicles that could travel over any terrain. They took parts from old cars and trucks and combined them into new machines. The vehicles were ugly, but they worked. And they could carry weapons. In the frozen lands of Russia, Scientists developed new explosives. They used chemicals that were banned before the war. Nobody cared about rules anymore. The only rule was survival. And everywhere, people learned to fight. Farmers became soldiers. Teachers became medics. Children became messengers, carrying information between resistance groups. Old people who could not fight made food and bandages for those who could. For the first time in human history, there were no countries. There were no religions. There were no politics. There was only one species, fighting for its right to exist. June had become a leader of the Korean resistance. He led a group of 500 fighters hidden in the mountains east of Bizen. They attacked Catherine patrols at night and disappeared. The full morning, he had still not found his wife and daughter. Every night, he looked at their picture and wondered if they were alive. Every morning, he pushed the thought away and focused on the fight. One evening, a new group of survivors arrived at his camp. They were mostly women and children, refugees from the destroyed cities. June went to meet them to offer food and shelter. And then he saw her. Minji stood at the edge of the group. She was thin and dirty. Her clothes were torn. But she was alive. In her arms, she held Bora. Their daughter was sleeping, her small face peaceful despite everything. June ran to them. He could not speak. He could only hold them. "I knew you would come," Minji whispered. "I knew you would find us." "I didn't find you," June said. "You found me." Minji smiled through her tears. "Then we are even." That night, June held his family close and made a silent promise. He would not just survive this war. He would win it. He would make sure his daughter grew up in a world without Catherine. No matter what it cost. Hannah had been shot down twice since the invasion began. Both times, she had survived. Both times, she had found a new plane and gone back to fighting. Now she led a squadron of 50 pilots. They were from 12 different countries. Some had been enemies before the war. Now they were brothers and sisters. They flew missions every day, attacking Catherine supply lines and communication towers. They lost planes and pilots with every mission. But new volunteers always appeared to replace them. "Why do you keep fighting?" a young American pilot asked Hannah one night. His name was Tom, and he had lost his entire family in the first attack. Hannah thought about the question for a long time. "Because if I stop," she finally said, "then my friends died for nothing. Every pilot who crashed, every soldier who fell, every person who sacrificed themselves. If I give up, their deaths mean nothing." She looked up at the stars. "And because somewhere out there, children are hiding in the dark, praying that someone will save them. I cannot save them all, but I can save some. And some is better than none." Tom nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. "That's a good enough reason for me." The next morning, they flew into battle again. 2 weeks passed. Tay finished his transmitters. They were small devices, no bigger than a phone. But they carried the power to change the war. General Yuna gathered all her commanders for a final meeting. The bunker was crowded with leaders from every continent. They stood around a large table, looking at a map of the world. "The time has come," Yuna said. "We have been hiding. We have been surviving. Now, we fight back." She pointed at the map. "We will attack on every front at the same time. Every resistance group, every hidden army, every survivor with a weapon. We strike together." The commanders nodded. They had been waiting for this moment. "Tay's transmitters will disable their shields," Yuna continued. "When that happens, they will be vulnerable. We will hit them with everything we have." She looked around the room. "Many of us will die tomorrow. That is certain. But those who survive will remember this day forever. They will tell their children and their children's children about the day humanity stopped running and started fighting." She raised her fist. "Tomorrow, we take back our world. The commanders raised their fists in response. Outside the bunker, the sun was setting. It painted the sky in red and orange, like fire. Tomorrow, real fire would come. And the Catherine Empire would learn what it meant to face humanity united. The morning sun rose over the city of Bezin. The ocean was calm and blue. Fishing boats moved slowly through the harbor. Children walked to school with their bags on their backs. It was a normal Tuesday. June stood on the deck of the naval base and drank his coffee. He was 42 years old, a commander in the Korean Navy. He had served for 20 years and had never seen real combat. He hoped he never would. His phone buzzed. It was a message from his wife, Minji. She had sent a picture of their daughter eating breakfast. The girl was only 7 years old. Her name was Bora, and she had her mother's smile. June typed back a heart and put his phone away. He looked up at the sky and froze. Something was wrong. The sky was changing color. Dark shapes were appearing in the clouds. At first, June thought it was a storm. Then he realized the shapes were moving too fast. They were coming down. The first Catherine ship broke through the clouds at 7:43 a.m. It was massive, bigger than any building in the city. Its shadow covered the entire harbor. More ships followed. 10, 20, 50 ships descending from the sky. Alarms started screaming across the base. Soldiers ran in every direction. Jets scrambled from the runway. June dropped his coffee and sprinted toward the command center. Inside, chaos had taken over. Screens showed the alien fleet spreading across the globe. They were appearing over every major city: New York, Tokyo, London, Moscow, Beijing. The invasion was happening everywhere at once. What do we do? A young officer shouted. June grabbed the communication radio. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. All units, this is Commander June. We are under attack. I repeat, we are under attack. Engage the enemy. Protect the civilians. Fight until your last breath. The first explosions hit the city 30 seconds later. Hana was in the air when the invasion started. She was a fighter pilot, one of the best in the Korean Air Force. She had been doing a training exercise over the ocean when the sky turned dark. What the hell is that? Her wingman shouted through the radio. Hana looked up and saw the Catherine warships. Her heart stopped for 1 second. Then her training took over. Break formation, she ordered. Attack pattern Delta. Go for the small ships first. She pushed her jet to maximum speed and flew straight toward the enemy. Missile locks screamed in her ears. She fired everything she had. Her missiles hit a Catherine fighter and it exploded. But 10 more took its place. They were faster than her jet. Their weapons were stronger. She watched 2 of her squadron members get shot down in flames. Pull back. Someone screamed on the radio. We can't win this. No, Hana replied. Her voice was cold and hard. We don't pull back. We fight. She spun her jet around and attacked again. And again. And again. On the ground, Minho ran through the burning streets of Seoul. He was a military strategist, one of the smartest men in the Korean army. But right now, he was just trying to survive. Buildings collapsed around him. Alien soldiers marched through the smoke, shooting at anything that moved. Their weapons made a terrible sound, like thunder and screaming mixed together. Minho hid behind a broken car and watched. The Catherine soldiers were tall and covered in blue scales. They wore black armor that seemed to absorb the light. They moved in perfect formation, like machines. But Minho was not looking at their strength. He was looking for weakness. He noticed that the soldiers always turned their heads the same way. Their helmets blocked their vision on the left side. He noticed that their weapons took 3 seconds to recharge after each shot. He noticed that they never looked up. Minho grabbed a piece of broken glass and wrote these observations on his arm. If he survived, This information could save lives. A Kethran soldier spotted him. It raised its weapon. Minho ran. He ran faster than he had ever run in his life. Behind him, the alien fired. The blast hit the ground next to his feet, throwing him forward. He crashed through a window and landed in an empty store. Blood ran down his face. His leg was broken, but he was alive. He pulled out his phone and started typing everything he had learned. He sent the message to every military contact he had. Then he passed out. By noon, the coastal cities of Korea were in ruins. The Kethran had established landing zones in 12 locations. Their soldiers poured out of the ships like water from a broken dam. June had lost contact with half of his units. The naval base was destroyed. He was leading a small group of survivors through the underground tunnels, trying to reach the backup command center. "Sir," a young soldier said, "my family is up there. My parents, my sister. I need to find them." June stopped walking. He looked at the young man. He was maybe 20 years old. His face was covered in dust and tears. "What is your name, soldier?" "Day, sir." "Private Day." June put his hand on Day's shoulder. "Day, I understand. I have family too. A wife, a daughter. They are up there somewhere. I don't know if they are alive or dead." He looked into Day's eyes. "But right now, we cannot save them. Right now, we need to survive. We need to regroup. We need to fight back. And when we are strong enough, we will go back for them. All of them." Day wiped his eyes. "Yes, sir." They kept walking through the dark tunnels. Above them, the world was ending. Hannah had run out of missiles. She had run out of fuel. Her jet was falling apart around her. But she refused to stop. She aimed her plane at the largest Kethran ship she could see. If she was going to die, she would die fighting. But at the last second, her radio crackled to life. "All pilots, this is General Yuna. Do not sacrifice yourself. Retreat to coordinates 37 to 54. I repeat, retreat. We have a plan." Hannah hesitated. Every part of her wanted to crash into that alien ship. Every part of her wanted revenge for her fallen friends. But the general had given an order. And orders were orders. She pulled up at the last moment and flew toward the retreat point. Behind her, Seoul burned. By evening, the first day of the invasion was over. The Kethran had taken control of most major cities. Millions of people were dead. Millions more were refugees, running through the countryside, looking for safety. But humanity was not defeated. Not yet. In a bunker deep underground, General Yuna stood in front of a map of the world. She was 55 years old, a veteran of many conflicts. Her hair was gray, and her face was lined with age. But her eyes burned with fire. Around her stood the surviving military leaders from every country. They had managed to establish communication through emergency channels. For the first time in human history, every nation was working together. "The aliens think we are broken," Yuna said. "They think we will surrender. They are wrong." She pointed at the map. "We have lost the cities, but we still have the mountains. We still have the forests. We still have the tunnels and bunkers our ancestors built. And most importantly, we still have each other." The room was silent. "Today was a defeat," Yuna continued. "But it was not the end. Tomorrow, we will start fighting back. We will learn their weaknesses. We will build new weapons. We will train our people. And when we are ready, we will make them pay for every life they have taken." She looked at each leader in the room. "They came here thinking we were prey. They will leave knowing we are predators. This is not the end of humanity. This is the beginning of our revenge." In the darkness of the bunker, humanity began to plan its counterattack. Above ground, the Kethran celebrated their easy victory. They did not know that they had already lost. They had awakened something terrible. They had awakened humanity's anger. The great hall of the Galactic Council was silent. 1,000 representatives from 1,000 worlds sat in their floating chairs. The dome above them showed the spinning galaxies of the known universe. Light from distant stars made patterns on the floor. Elder Vorak walked slowly to the center platform. His gray skin was covered in old scars. His 4 eyes were tired but sharp. He had lived for 300 years, and he had seen many terrible things. But nothing scared him more than what he was about to discuss. The young emperor of the Kethran Empire sat on his golden throne at the highest level. His name was Drex, and he was only 40 years old. In Kethran years, this made him almost a child. His blue scales shined under the council lights. His soldiers stood behind him, tall and proud in their black armor. Vorak reached the center and pressed his walking stick against the floor. The sound echoed through the hall. "I have called this meeting for one reason," Vorak said. His voice was old but strong. "The Kethran Empire plans to attack the 3rd planet in the Sol system. The planet called Earth, the home of the humans." Whispers spread through the council. Some representatives laughed. Others shook their heads. Emperor Drex leaned forward on his throne. "And why should we not attack them, Old One? They are weak. They have only existed for a moment in galactic time. Their technology is primitive. Their planet is rich with resources. It will be an easy victory." Vorak closed all 4 of his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, there was something dark in his gaze. "I said the same thing once," he replied. 50 years ago, my people found a human colony ship. It was small, only 2,000 humans on board. They had traveled far from their home, looking for a new world to live on. The hall grew quiet. Everyone knew Vorak's species. The Morith were once powerful warriors. Now, only a few million of them remained, scattered across the galaxy. "We thought they would be easy to capture," Vorak continued. "We thought we would take them as slaves. We surrounded their ship with our fleet. 100 warships against one small colony vessel." Drex laughed. "And you failed to capture 2,000 primitives?" Vorak did not laugh. His scarred face remained still as stone. "We demanded their surrender. Their captain was a woman. Her name was Sue. She was small, even for a human. She had dark hair and calm eyes. She looked at our fleet through the communication screen, and she smiled." Vorak paused. The memory still hurt after all these years. She said only one thing. She said, "No." Then she cut the communication. "So, what happened?" asked a representative from the trading worlds. "Did you destroy them?" "We tried," Vorak said. "We fired everything we had at their ship. Our weapons hit the shields, and for a moment, we thought it was over. But then something strange happened. Their ship did not explode. Instead, it changed. Parts of it opened up. Weapons we had never seen before came out." Vorak's voice dropped low. "In the first minute, they destroyed 20 of our ships. In the second minute, 30 more. By the time our admiral gave the order to retreat, we had lost 60 ships. We ran away from 2,000 humans in one colony vessel." The hall was completely silent now. Even Drex had stopped laughing. "But that was not the end," Vorak said. "We were angry. We were ashamed. So we gathered our entire fleet. 5,000 warships. We traveled to their colony world, a small planet they had named Hope. We planned to burn it to ash." He touched one of the scars on his face. "There were only 50,000 humans on that planet. Farmers, teachers, children. We thought it would take 1 hour to destroy them all. It took 3 days for them to destroy us." "Impossible," Drex said, but his voice was not as confident as before. "They fought like nothing we had ever seen," Vorak said. "They did not give up. They did not surrender. When their weapons ran out, they used rocks. When their rocks ran out, they used their hands. A human female named Hana flew her broken ship directly into our command vessel. She killed our admiral and herself with one action. She was smiling when she did it. Vorak looked directly at Emperor Drex. Do you know what humans call that? They call it sacrifice. They die for each other. They die for their families. They die for their planet. And when they die, they make sure to take as many enemies with them as possible. Drex shifted uncomfortably on his throne. When the battle ended, we had lost 4,000 ships. We had killed 30,000 humans. But the remaining 20,000 escaped. They sent a message to Earth, and Earth remembered. Vorak's voice became harder now. For the next 10 years, humans hunted us. They found our colonies. They found our homeworld. They found every ship, every station, every place where my people lived. And they burned it all. Tears formed in Vorak's ancient eyes. We had 1 billion people before we attacked the humans. Now we have 3 million. Our empire is gone. Our worlds are ash. Our children grow up as refugees, begging for food on other planets. He pointed his walking stick at Drex. I lost my family. I lost my home. I lost everything because we thought humans were weak. We thought they would be easy to defeat. We were wrong. The council hall was heavy with silence. Earth is 8 billion humans now, Vorak said. They have had 50 years to prepare for another attack. 50 years to build weapons. 50 years to study the galaxy. 50 years to get angry. He turned to face the entire council. I came here to give you one warning. Do not attack the humans. Do not threaten them. Do not even look at them with bad intentions. Because if you do, they will not stop until your empire is ash. They will not stop until your children are dead. They will not stop until your name is forgotten by history. Vorak began walking away from the platform. You may think I am a weak old fool. You may think the Morath were simply bad at war. But I am telling you the truth. Humans are not prey. They are predators. And once you wake them up, they will never stop hunting you. Emperor Drex stood from his throne. His face was hard with pride. The Gethran Empire fears nothing, he declared. We have conquered 100 worlds. We have defeated 12 species. We will not be scared by stories from a broken old man. Vorak stopped at the door. He did not turn around. Then you will die, he said simply. And when your worlds are burning, remember that I warned you. Remember that you had a choice. And remember that you chose wrong. He walked out of the Great Hall, leaving only silence behind him. 3 months later, the Gethran fleet entered the Sol system. They had 2,000 warships. They had 1 million soldiers. They had the best weapons in the galaxy. They thought they were ready. They were not.